Welcome to Ancient Atoms Awakened. I'm honored that you've chosen to join me for this exploration of how to get the most from our upcoming chakra activation series. As we prepare to work directly with these powerful energy centers, understanding how to approach this practice effectively becomes essential for experiencing its full benefits. In this journey, we'll discover practical approaches for deepening your chakra activation experience, explore common challenges and their solutions, and learn how to integrate these practices into your daily life. By the end, you'll be fully prepared to engage with the chakra activation process in a way that honors both ancient wisdom and your unique personal needs. Before we explore specific techniques, it's important to understand what chakra activation actually is from the perspective of ancient wisdom traditions. Archaeological and textual evidence from various ancient civilizations reveals remarkably consistent understandings of this process, though described through different cultural frameworks. At its essence, chakra activation isn't about creating something new, but rather awakening what already exists within you. Ancient Vedic texts describe chakras as wheels or discs of energy that are always present but may be functioning at different levels of activity, balance, and awareness. Egyptian hieroglyphic instructions for initiates suggest a similar understanding of energy centers that could be illuminated or awakened through specific practices. This understanding was reflected in temple carvings and artifacts from ancient Egypt, India, China, and pre-Columbian America, where symbols of awakening dormant energy appear consistently in contexts related to spiritual development. Archaeological evidence suggests these activation practices date back to at least 3000 BCE, with specialized temple rooms designed specifically for energy activation work. The ancient traditions recognized three primary aspects of working with chakras. First is awareness, simply becoming conscious of these energy centers and their qualities in your experience. Ancient instruction for novice practitioners often began with awareness practices, before any specific activation techniques were introduced. Second is balancing, bringing harmony to centers that might be underactive, overactive, or operating in ways that create discord rather than integration. Temple inscriptions describe specific signs of balanced and imbalanced energy flow, suggesting this diagnostic approach has ancient roots. Third is activation, deliberately increasing the energy and consciousness flowing through specific centers. This was traditionally done sequentially, beginning with foundation centers, before working with higher centers. Archaeological evidence of initiation chambers in ancient temples suggests this progressive approach has been used for millennia. It's important to understand that from the ancient perspective, chakra activation wasn't primarily about having unusual experiences or developing special abilities, though these might naturally occur. Rather, it was about becoming more fully human, integrating body, energy, emotion, mind, and spirit into a harmonious whole. Temple art depicting completed initiates shows them as balanced, centered beings rather than as supernatural figures. In our modern context, we can understand chakra activation as a process of increased consciousness, energy flow, and integration. Scientific research into meditation states, neuroplasticity, and coherent nervous system functioning offers some intriguing parallels to what ancient traditions described as chakra activation. As we approach this practice together, I invite you to hold this understanding of activation as an awakening of your natural energetic potential, rather than as the acquisition of something external or foreign to your essential nature. The ancient wisdom reminds us that we're not adding energy, but rather removing the blocks to energy that already exists within us. Archaeological evidence from ancient temple sites suggests that chakra activation was approached systematically, with specific preparation considered essential for effective practice. Across different traditions, we see remarkably consistent emphasis on 4 foundational elements of preparation. The first foundation is physical readiness. Ancient texts describe specific preparation of the physical vessel before energy practices, including considerations of cleanliness, nutrition, rest, and appropriate physical movement. Temple preparation rooms often included bathing facilities and areas for specific preparatory movements before energy work began. For our chakra activation series, consider these practical aspects of physical preparation. Allow 2 to 3 hours after heavy meals before practice, though a light snack is fine if needed. Ensure adequate hydration before and after activation sessions. Wear comfortable, non-restrictive clothing. Consider gentle stretching before practice to release physical tension. Address basic physical needs like using the bathroom before beginning. The second foundation is energetic clearing. Ancient traditions recognize that energy activation works best when existing energy is flowing freely. Archaeological evidence shows specialized tools for energy clearing at sacred sites worldwide. These practices were considered essential preparation for deeper energy work. For our chakra activation work, these energetic clearing approaches are valuable. The 3-6-9 breathing method we explored earlier creates excellent energetic preparation. Brief physical movement that gently activates the spine helps clear energetic pathways. Simple visualization of light or water moving through your system can help release blockages. Sound clearing using a bell, chime, or simple tone can help release stagnant energy. Working with the elements through brief earth contact, fresh air, or water can support clearing. The third foundation is mental-emotional centering. Ancient traditions understood that the state of mind and emotions significantly impacts energy work. Temple inscriptions describe the importance of entering sacred space with clear heart and focused mind. Preparation chambers often included transition spaces designed to support this centering. For our activation series, these centering practices are helpful, taking a few moments to set clear, positive intention for your practice. Briefly journaling any persistent thoughts or emotions before practice to externalize them. A short gratitude practice to shift into positive emotional states. Conscious release of expectations about what you should experience. A brief transition period between daily activities and your practice time. The fourth foundation is spatial preparation. Ancient temple design reveals sophisticated understanding of how environment influences energy work. Evidence suggests special attention was given to creating appropriate conditions for activation practices, with specific arrangements for different types of energy work. For our chakra activation work, consider these aspects of spatial preparation, creating a clean, orderly space for practice, as discussed in our previous video. Minimizing potential distractions like phones, notifications, or background noise. Ensuring comfortable temperature and appropriate lighting. Having any supportive items, cushion, blanket, water within easy reach. Creating a simple entrance ritual that marks the transition into practice space. These four foundations aren't merely helpful suggestions, but essential components of effective practice according to ancient wisdom traditions. Archaeological evidence suggests these preparatory elements were considered as important as the specific activation techniques themselves. By attending to these foundations before each chakra activation session, you create optimal conditions for deep, transformative experience. This preparation isn't about perfectionism, but rather about bringing conscious intention to the entire activation process. Ancient wisdom traditions developed sophisticated understandings of how chakra activation unfolds as a process over time. Temple inscriptions and initiatic texts describe stages of awakening that reflect natural energy development rather than forced or artificially accelerated change. The first stage in this process is recognition. This involves becoming aware of the chakra's current state, its level of activity, any blockages or imbalances, and its relationship to other energy centers. Ancient traditions often used specific diagnostic practices to assess energy centers before activation work began. For each chakra in our series, we'll begin with awareness practices that help you recognize the present condition of that center. This honest assessment creates the foundation for authentic transformation. As you engage with these practices, approach with curiosity rather than judgment, noticing what is rather than focusing on what should be. The second stage is purification. This involves clearing blockages that prevent the natural flow of energy through the chakra. Ancient artifacts show specialized tools used for energy clearing in specific body regions, suggesting targeted purification practices for each center. Our activation series will include specific techniques for releasing blockages in each chakra. These might trigger temporary intensification of physical sensations, emotions, or thoughts related to the energy being cleared. Ancient wisdom recognized this as a natural part of the purification process. If you experience strong reactions, gentle persistence while respecting your own limits is the balanced approach. The third stage is balance. This involves harmonizing the energy center, addressing both underactivity and overactivity to find optimal functioning. Temple art depicts balance as a key quality in advanced initiates, suggesting this was considered essential in ancient activation practices. For each chakra, we'll work with balancing practices that address both excessive and deficient energy patterns. Ancient traditions understood that both underexpression and overexpression of chakra qualities created imbalance. The goal is not maximum energy, but rather harmonious, appropriate energy flow. The fourth stage is integration. This involves connecting the activated chakra with the overall energy system and with daily life expression. Archaeological evidence shows how initiation processes culminated in integration practices that connected sacred experience with ordinary life. Our activation series will include specific integration practices for each chakra, helping you connect the activated energy with practical life application. Ancient wisdom understood that activation without integration could create fragmented experience rather than holistic development. The final stage is embodiment. This involves allowing the activated chakra qualities to become part of your natural functioning, rather than remaining as special or separate experiences. Temple art shows completed initiates engaged in ordinary activities, while maintaining their awakened energy, suggesting this embodiment was the ultimate goal. Throughout our series, we'll explore ways to embody each chakra's qualities in your daily life, relationships, and activities. The ancient understanding was that true mastery isn't demonstrated in special states, but in transformed ordinary living. These stages don't necessarily unfold in neat, sequential order, and you may find yourself cycling through them multiple times with each chakra. Ancient wisdom recognized energy development as a spiral process rather than a linear one, with deepening layers of experience over time. As you approach our chakra activation series, holding awareness of these stages can help you recognize and honor your own unique process of awakening. Each person's energy system responds differently to activation practices, and there is no single correct timeline or experience. The ancient traditions that developed chakra activation practices had a sophisticated understanding of common challenges that might arise during the process. Archaeological evidence shows specialized temple areas designed for addressing specific difficulties, suggesting systematic approaches to working with challenges. The first common challenge is physical discomfort. Ancient texts acknowledge that energy movement can sometimes trigger temporary physical sensations. Tingling, heat, pressure, or spontaneous movements. Temple inscriptions describe these as natural aspects of the awakening process, rather than problems to be eliminated. If you experience physical discomfort during activation, adjust your position if needed for greater comfort. Gently focus on breathing into the area of sensation. Remember that mild to moderate sensations often indicate energy movement. Reduce the intensity of practice if sensations become too strong. Return to foundation practices like simple grounding if needed. The ancient approach wasn't to avoid all sensation, but rather to develop capacity to be present with a wider range of experience while maintaining centeredness. The second common challenge is emotional intensity. Ancient wisdom traditions recognized that chakra activation often releases stored emotional energy. Temple spaces included areas for emotional expression and processing, suggesting this was considered a normal part of the journey. If you experience emotional intensity during activation, allow emotions to flow without judgment or suppression. Maintain breath awareness to stay anchored during strong feelings. Remember that emotional release often indicates healing in progress. Use journaling after practice to process significant emotional experiences. Consider working with a qualified therapist alongside energy practices if emotions feel overwhelming. The ancient understanding wasn't that advanced practitioners never experienced emotions, but rather that they developed the capacity to experience emotions fully without becoming identified with them. The third common challenge is mental resistance. Ancient texts describe how the conceptual mind often resists energy awakening that transcends its familiar patterns. Temple training included specific practices for working with mental obstacles, suggesting this was recognized as part of the path thousands of years ago. If you experience mental resistance during activation, notice thoughts without fighting them or following their content. Gently return focus to physical sensations or breath when caught in thinking. Remember that mental activity often increases temporarily when energy is shifting. Use simple anchoring phrases to redirect attention when needed. Consider journaling resistant thoughts after practice to externalize them. The ancient wisdom wasn't about achieving a thoughtless state, but rather developing the ability to hold thoughts in broader awareness without being controlled by them. The fourth common challenge is inconsistent experience. Ancient traditions acknowledged that energy awakening typically unfolds in cycles, rather than linear progression. Temple calendars show ceremonial cycles that worked with these natural rhythms, rather than forcing constant advancement. If you experience inconsistency in your practice, recognize this as a normal aspect of the process rather than a failure. Maintain regular practice regardless of whether experiences feel special. Remember that integration phases often feel less dramatic than activation phases. Document your journey to recognize subtle patterns over time. Trust the intelligence of your energy system's natural timing. The ancient understanding wasn't that advanced practitioners had constant peak experiences, but rather that they recognized and valued the necessary cycles of activation, integration, and assimilation. The fifth common challenge is spiritual attachment. Ancient wisdom traditions warned about becoming attached to special experiences, or using them to enhance ego identity. Temple inscriptions describe how attachment to experiences becomes an obstacle to true awakening. If you notice attachment to experiences, gently acknowledge the attachment without judgment. Remember that the experiences themselves aren't the goal, but rather the transformation they facilitate. Practice gratitude for experiences while being willing to let them go. Notice any tendency to compare your experiences with others, or with your own past experiences. Return to foundational practices that cultivate presence with what is. The ancient understanding wasn't that remarkable experiences never occur, but rather that true mastery involves freedom from both seeking and avoiding particular experiences. By recognizing these common challenges as natural aspects of the path rather than problems or failures, you align with the ancient wisdom that viewed the entire journey with all its variations as the process of awakening. Archaeological evidence suggests that ancient chakra practices weren't confined to temples or formal sessions, but extended into daily life application. Temple art depicts initiates carrying awakened energy into ordinary activities, and household artifacts show how energy awareness was integrated into family and community contexts. This integration of chakra awareness with daily living is perhaps the most valuable aspect of the entire tradition. The ancient wisdom understood that activation without application creates fragmented development rather than genuine transformation. For each chakra in our activation series, we'll explore specific ways to integrate its qualities into your everyday experience. These aren't separate from the activation itself, but rather the fulfillment of its purpose. For the root chakra, daily life integration might include regular grounding practices throughout your day. Conscious attention to how you handle material resources, creating greater stability in your daily routines. Physical activities that strengthen your connection to Earth, addressing practical needs with greater awareness. For the sacral chakra, integration practices might include bringing more creativity into everyday tasks. Conscious attention to your relationship with water, creating healthier emotional flow in daily interactions. Honoring the body's natural rhythms throughout your day, finding more opportunities for pleasure and joy in ordinary moments. For the solar plexus chakra, daily application might involve practicing healthier boundary setting in relationships. Conscious use of personal power in work and community, creating transformation in practical aspects of life. Bringing greater confidence to daily challenges, honoring your authentic preferences and needs. For the heart chakra, integration practices might include finding opportunities for compassion in everyday interactions. Conscious balance of giving and receiving in relationships, creating greater harmony in your home environment. Bringing heart awareness to previously mechanical activities, honoring both connection and healthy detachment. For the throat chakra, daily application might involve practicing more authentic communication in conversations. Conscious creativity through words, sounds, or images, creating greater alignment between inner truth and outer expression. Bringing voice to aspects of life previously kept silent, honoring both expression and listening in daily interactions. For the third eye chakra, integration practices might include developing greater awareness of intuitive guidance and decisions, conscious attention to patterns and connections in daily events, creating opportunities for vision and imagination in practical projects, bringing greater discernment to information consumption, honoring both logic and intuition in problem solving. For the crown chakra, daily application might involve practicing present moment awareness throughout your day, conscious recognition of the sacred in ordinary experiences, creating moments of stillness within active life, bringing expanded perspective to challenging situations, honoring both spiritual awareness and practical engagement. Ancient wisdom understood these applications not as separate techniques, but as natural expressions of awakened energy. Temple art shows initiates bringing their awakened energy into crafts, relationships, governance, healing, teaching, and all aspects of community life. As you move through our chakra activation series, I encourage you to pay particular attention to these integration aspects. The true measure of effective chakra work isn't unusual experiences during practice, but transformed quality of living between sessions. The ancient traditions would assess development not by what happened in the temple, but by how initiates lived once they left the temple. This wisdom remains profoundly relevant in our modern context, where spiritual practice sometimes becomes disconnected from daily reality. As we prepare to begin our chakra activation series, I'd like to offer a series of affirmations that align your approach with the essence of this ancient wisdom. These statements help create a foundation of understanding that will support your entire journey through the chakra system. Allow these affirmations to resonate within you. I approach chakra activation with both reverence for ancient wisdom and openness to my unique experience. I recognize chakra work as a process of awakening what already exists within me, rather than acquiring something external. I honor my body's wisdom throughout this journey, creating balance between gentle persistence and self-care. I understand that challenges in my practice are natural aspects of growth rather than obstacles to be eliminated. I recognize that my chakra development unfolds in its own perfect timing, neither forced nor delayed. I approach each chakra as part of an integrated system, honoring both its unique qualities and its relationship to the whole. I measure the effectiveness of my practice by the quality of my daily living, rather than by special experiences. I honor both ancient tradition and contemporary context, creating a bridge between timeless wisdom and modern life. I commit to regular practice while releasing attachment to specific outcomes or experiences. I approach this journey with patience, persistence, compassion, and joy. I am ancient atoms awakened. Thank you for joining me in this exploration of how to get the most from chakra activations. We are now prepared to begin our chakra activation series, starting with the root chakra, the foundation of our entire energy system. Until we meet again for our first activation session, may you carry the wisdom of the ancient ones within your modern heart. Ancient atoms awakened, where ancient wisdom meets modern awakening. Guided meditation. Introduction series. How to get the most from chakra activations.